We called her Grandma. Her house sat on the edge of Boise, a squat gray place with ivy-covered walls and wind chimes that never stopped. My siblings and I spent most of our summers there. It wasn't the fun kind of childhood home, not with its creaky floors and cold, damp air, but Grandma fed us well, gave us space, and didn't ask many questions, except when it came to the basement. Her rule was simple: don't go down there. We weren't even allowed near the door after sunset. She had a huge wooden ruler she kept in the kitchen drawer and wasn't shy about using it. Once, my younger brother Tyler tried sneaking a peek during a blackout. The slap that ruler made across his fingers echoed for days. After that, none of us tried again, at least not openly. Still, kids are curious. When Grandma went out to Sunday church or her gardening club, we'd sit at the top of the basement stairs and dare each other to take a step down. The air down there smelled like mold and metal. We'd throw pebbles or shoes just to hear them thump against concrete. One afternoon, Grandma had to rush out to a neighbor's emergency. We knew it was our chance. We waited 5 minutes after her car pulled out, then crept to the basement door. I opened it slowly. The stairs looked like they dropped into complete blackness. Tyler grabbed a flashlight. We descended. The basement was colder than we expected. The light from our flashlight caught shelves full of canning jars, old chairs draped in sheets, and cardboard boxes stacked like tombstones. But in the far back corner, behind a wardrobe and a pile of old Christmas lights, we saw it. The statue. It stood maybe 6 feet tall, life-sized, carved from what looked like marble. It was a depiction of Jesus. Red robe, hands outstretched, head slightly tilted. There were red marks on the palms, like wounds. The eyes, half-lidded and sunken, weren't glass or painted. They were carved so realistically that they seemed to shimmer when the light hit them. Tyler stepped forward. "Why's this here?" he asked. I didn't answer. I was too busy trying to understand the feeling in my chest. Something about the statue felt wrong, like it didn't belong in a basement, like it was aware. We didn't stay long. Tyler swore he saw its eyes flicker as we turned to go. I told him he was being dramatic. That night, none of us could sleep. It happened a week later. I woke up thirsty around 1 a.m. Everyone else was asleep in their sleeping bags, passed out in the living room. I padded barefoot to the kitchen, trying not to step on anyone. As I passed the hallway, something made me stop. The door to the basement was slightly ajar. Grandma always locked it. Always. I leaned closer, trying to listen. There it was, a dragging sound, like stone scraping across concrete. Slow, heavy. I opened the door an inch more. From the dim glow of the hallway light, I saw it. A shadow descending the stairs, too slow to be human. The robe, the outline of the crown of thorns. My breath caught. The air turned ice cold. The statue was walking. I slammed the door shut, bolted down the hall, and dove back under the covers with my siblings. I didn't scream. I didn't even cry. I just clutched the blanket and waited for morning. When I finally told Grandma, she didn't act surprised. Grandma sipped her coffee without looking up. "You saw it walk?" she asked calmly. I nodded. She set the cup down. "That's not the first time." I stared. "What do you mean?" She leaned back. "Your grandpa brought that thing home. Said it was from a church in Mexico that closed down. He thought it was art. A treasure." "But it moves," I said. She looked me dead in the eyes. "I know. It wasn't possession or hallucination." She believed it fully, without question. She'd known for years. The reason she kept the basement locked was because once, in the 80s, she'd found the statue standing in the hallway. It had moved on its own. Since then, she kept it below, surrounded it with salt, and kept people away. "It never hurt anyone," she said, "but it doesn't sleep." I asked why she kept it. Her face hardened. "Because I'm afraid of what'll happen if it's not here." That night, I didn't close my eyes once. Years passed. Grandma got sick in 2019. Cancer. When she died, the family returned to Boise for the funeral. Her belongings were split up: jewelry, dishes, paintings. But no one wanted the statue. Uncle Mark said it was too heavy. Aunt Sharon said it gave her chills. Nobody knew the full story. Only I did. They finally agreed to donate it to a nearby church, St. Dominic's, that specialized in restoring religious art. 2 men came to pick it up. I watched from the porch as they wheeled it up the steps and into a truck. For a moment, as the door closed, I swore its head turned slightly toward me. The church accepted it. They restored it, cleaned it, set it up in a side chapel. 6 months later, the church was struck by lightning during a freak thunderstorm. It burned to the ground. They said everything inside was destroyed except for one thing, the statue. It was found standing upright in the middle of the ashes, not even scorched. They moved it again, this time to a museum. I've never gone to see it. I won't. I don't know what it is, but I know it's not just stone. It watches. It waits. And maybe it's still walking, somewhere in the dark, behind locked doors. Call me Brianna. I don't want to give my full name in case any of my neighbors hear this. My story takes place in a condo building in downtown Seattle, a place with so many secrets, they always manage to keep bad press out of the news. There have been multiple suicides in the building, all of them on the 5th floor. The building tried to sweep it under the rug, evicted everyone from the units, renovated them, and let new tenants move in. But even after that, it didn't stop. Depression and anxiety hung thick in the air. A lot of people who moved in ended up leaving within months. The few of us who stayed began to feel it too. The unease, the tension, the sense that someone is watching. I used to run down to the 7-Eleven across the street at midnight for snacks. Every time I'd come back, I'd ride the elevator alone. And every time, the elevator would stop on the 5th floor, even when no one pushed the button. At first, I thought it was broken. It only ever happened at night. I brushed it off until one day a neighbor added me to the building's group chat. That's when I found out. Everyone had experienced strange things. Voices, shadows, cold spots, doors slamming shut. And every story, every one, somehow led back to the 5th floor. I started keeping food in my unit to avoid those late-night runs, but one night my cousins Abby and Monique came up from Santa Barbara to visit. We stayed up late drinking, laughing. Around 1 a.m. we ran out of drinks and decided to head down to 7-Eleven. As usual, the elevator stopped on the 5th floor on the way down. But this time I wasn't alone. I had my cousins. So I joked about it. We peeked into the hallway, laughed, and moved on. Later that night, we all passed out in the living room. That's when we had the exact same nightmare. In the dream, Abby and Monique were fighting, clawing at each other, screaming. They dragged each other out onto the balcony. I chased after them, begging them to stop. And then, they turned to me, and both of them had the same face. Not theirs, but something blank and sinister. Then they jumped. I woke up screaming. They did too. Each of us dreamed a different version, but always with 2 fighting and 1 jumping. We were shaken. The next morning, we went straight to St. Mary's Cathedral to pray. I even took home some holy water. Nothing ever happened like that again. But I stuck it out only until my lease ended. I didn't renew. I never believed in monsters, not the kind that hide under beds at least, but the ones that live in the spaces between fields in the hush of midnight winds. Those, I learned, are real. It all started the summer Jake and I were sent to Grandpa's farm. Grandpa's farmhouse was a sagging, sun-bleached thing, half swallowed by wheat fields that stretched to the horizon. The air smelled like earth and something faintly sour, like milk left out too long. But that night I woke to a sound. A slow, wet clicking like someone running a tongue over teeth. My window faced the field, and through the grimy glass I saw them. Shapes. Not moving, not breathing, just watching. I squeezed my eyes shut, convinced it was a dream. When I looked again, they were gone. The next morning I found Jake in the kitchen, staring at his cereal like it was poisoned. "You hear that last night?" he asked. "Hear what?" "Whispering." Grandpa froze mid-sip of coffee. His chair screeched as he stood. "You didn't go outside," he said, not a question. That night I didn't sleep. I sat by the window, gripping the shovel, watching the wheat sway in the moonlight. Around 3 a.m. the wind stopped. The field went perfectly still. And then, one by one, the stalks began to part, as something started crawling toward the house. I didn't realize I'd fallen asleep until the scream ripped through the house. It was Jake, high-pitched, raw with terror. I bolted upright, the shovel still clenched in my hands, and ran to his room. The door was wide open, his bedsheets tangled on the floor like he'd been dragged. "Jake!" I shouted, my voice cracking. Then I saw him. He was curled in the corner, knees to his chest, staring at the window. His face was slick with sweat, his breath coming in sharp, panicked gasps. I followed his gaze and felt my stomach drop. There, smeared across the glass, was a handprint, but not a human one. The fingers were too long, the palm too narrow, the skin, if it was skin, streaked with something dark and sticky. It looked like it had been pressed hard against the pane, like someone or something had leaned in to peer inside. "Something touched my foot," Jake whispered. I grabbed his arm and hauled him up, my pulse hammering. The space beneath his bed was empty, but the dust had been disturbed. Something had definitely been there. We didn't sleep the rest of the night. Instead, we barricaded ourselves in my room, the shovel and a rusted pocket knife from Grandpa's toolbox, our only weapons. Every creak of the old house made my muscles tense. Every gust of wind sounded like whispering. At dawn, Grandpa found us huddled together, still awake. He took one look at Jake's window, at the handprint, and his face went grim. "You boys stay inside today," he ordered, voice low. "No matter what." Then he did something that scared me more than the handprint ever could. He grabbed his shotgun from the closet and walked straight into the wheat field, disappearing into the golden stalks without a backward glance. Jake and I spent the morning jumping at shadows. The house, usually full of the sounds of Grandpa puttering around, was deathly quiet. By noon, the silence was unbearable. "He's been gone too long," Jake muttered, pacing the kitchen. I swallowed hard. "We should go look for him." Jake hesitated, then nodded. We stepped outside, the midday sun beating down on us. But the warmth didn't reach my bones. The field loomed ahead, the wheat swaying gently, innocently, too innocent. We followed the path Grandpa had taken, the stalks parting as we pushed deeper. The air grew heavier, the scent of earth and something faintly metallic clinging to the back of my throat. Then we found his shotgun. Abandoned in the dirt, the barrel smeared with the same dark substance as the handprint, and next to it, pressed into the soil, was a single footprint. A rustling sound came from ahead, a slow, deliberate movement through the wheat. Jake grabbed my arm, his fingers digging in painfully. "Grandpa!" he called out, voice trembling. The rustling stopped. Then, from just beyond the next row of stalks, something answered. It sounded like Grandpa's voice, but off, like it was being pulled through water. "Come here, boys." We ran. We didn't stop until we were back inside the house, the door locked, the windows shut. But as I caught my breath, I realized something that made my blood turn to ice. The handprint on Jake's window was gone, and the back door was open. Thank you to everyone who listened to my story. If you like this, don't forget to like and subscribe.